To create this part, we'll be using two operations, the revolve operation and the pocket operation. We'll hide this and create a new body. You can see which body selected by which one is highlighted in white. We'll create a new sketch on the XZ plane and make sure that we're using the correct units. For this part, that's imperial. I'll zoom in to roughly the size of my part and use the polyline tool to create a rough sketch. A very rough sketch. Now you can see these horizontal and vertical constraints by the horizontal and vertical lines. Some of these lines are messier than others. You can use this horizontal and vertical constraint tool to clean them up. We'll use this coincident constraint and select this point and the y-axis. And now we'll no longer have a hole in the center of the part when we revolve around the y-axis. Now let's go ahead and dimension. Because the silhouette that we have here is half the size of the schematic, we're going to be dividing most of these dimensions by 2. The only exceptions are the height and this radius here. Now you can see sometimes the vectors will shoot off into crazy directions. When we further constrain this part, most of that will go away. You could still slide it back to where it needs to be without much issue. When we set this height constraint here, we can usually move this segment of the part all together. And that means whenever we set the height, the vertices are going to be flying off everywhere. Finally, we'll set this last radius, and you can see the part turns green because that means we're fully constrained and we're ready to pad or revolve the part. With the sketch selected, select the revolve operation and make sure that you are revolving around the correct axis. Sometimes if you sketch this part sideways or on a different plane, you may need to change this from this current axis, the vertical axis, to the horizontal axis. If it looks like this, you probably need to change it. Press OK and create a new sketch, again on the XZ plane. We're going to import geometry, this top line here, because this is what's going to be referenced whenever we put the circle into place. I'm also going to select the View Section tool in order to see the y-axis. Going to set this to 0.5 and set the height constraint to 0.75. Now that this is fully constrained, we can close out. Make sure that the sketch is selected and use the pocket operation. Now we don't see anything on this side yet. And that's because the operation radiates from the plane that you were working on. Because the plane was in the middle of the part, you're not really going to see it. So we'll go through all, and you can see it on one side, but not the other, until you select the symmetric to plane option. Then we have a nice clean hole. Finally, in macros, we'll select this mass calculation macro, which I'll include in the description, and scroll down until we get to this area and volume section. If your unit is in kilograms, change it to pounds, and make sure that you have the right material. In this case, we're using plain carbon steel. Now we still don't have a mass, and that's because we need to select the part. Finally, the mass will show up in the box.